Okay. All right, I'll make a start. So yeah, it says recording started. Well done. So welcome everybody. I'll try and make sure we finish as soon after 5 as possible so we can get to the football. But what I wanted to do with you all today is, rather than give a talk, is I wanted to do an exercise that's inviting all of you to join in and to do something for yourself. So hopefully at the end of these 40 minutes, you'll have a tool that you can start to use for yourself. And if you want to find out more, you can get in touch with me and a number of other psychologists in the trust that use this tool, and think about how we can start to use it both personally and in our work. And as it said in the invitation, to use this tool, you need a piece of paper and you need a pen. Okay, so I'm hoping everybody that's joined has seen that tip and is ready to go. And this tool is something that just by drawing 2 lines on a piece of paper, we can start to shift our perspective and start to look at life when we get a bit stuck, and hopefully start to change our behavior in order that we can get unstuck. Hopefully you're all feeling a bit curious now about what I'm about to do with you. I do this on an almost daily basis. I can see a few people are on this call who've probably seen me do this many times before because they work with me. But here we go. So everybody, and please put, I'm not looking at the chat, but maybe Anna can look at the chat and tell me if there's any pressing questions.
I will do.
That would be great. Thank you. So I want you to hold your paper horizontally, and I'm going to do this at the same time that I'm inviting you to do it, but I want you to start by putting a horizontal line from left to right with an arrow to the left and an arrow to the right. And above the left-hand arrow, I want you to write the word away. And above the right-hand arrow, I want you to write the word towards. Okay? Now I want you to bear with me while I explain what I mean by towards and away. Okay, so if I were a rabbit and I could see a carrot and I can smell the carrot, would you agree that I'm going to run in the direction of the carrot? Now you can't all say yes, Louise, but I'm hoping you're all nodding. Normally I do this slightly more interactively. Thank you, Ruth. So rabbit sees, smells, senses the carrot, moves towards it. Now, what if you were a rabbit and you could smell and hear and then start to see a dog running towards you? At that point, would you agree that the rabbit is going to run away? Okay, so in the one instance, a rabbit is running towards something, it can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and the other instance, the rabbit is running away. Now, if I just was sitting here and I just saw a rabbit go running by, I wouldn't know, would I, whether this was a rabbit that was running towards or away? But what I want you to think about is, would it feel different to the rabbit? If the rabbit was moving towards something or running away from something, same action, running, but it's going to feel very different in each of those instances. And it's that different felt sense that I want you to hold on to with regards to towards and away. Okay? Everyone with me so far? I'm just talking to a screen, so I'm just going to carry on. Okay, so towards and away. Now we're going to draw another line. And this time I want you to put a line like this one. So you've divided your page into 4 boxes. And this has an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down. And this time I want you to write 2 words. One at the top is outside and one at the bottom is inside. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by inside and outside. So rabbits and animals generally only move towards and away from things that they can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. Okay? Human beings, on the other hand, have a strong internal world, and we can also be governed by what shows up inside as our thoughts and our feelings. So the stuff at the bottom here is all that stuff that we do when we're thinking and we're planning. And it's also stuff that shows up inside, like emotions and thoughts. So if we were faced with a maths problem, we'd go into our internal space and we'd think, okay, I know what 2 + 2 is, or we'd analyze it in our head and we'd work it out. we can also go up this line and we can go into the world of 5 senses. So this is the outside space. Everything above this horizontal line is stuff we can see. Everything beneath this horizontal line is stuff that shows up inside. I've no idea what people are thinking unless I ask them or unless I see them behave in a certain way, and that will give me a hint. So everything above the line we can observe, and we sometimes put a video camera up here that would say stuff I can see, behaviors, and everything beneath this line is stuff that's showing up inside you. So I might be at a party and I'm surrounded by friends. My 5 senses are telling me, you know, there's lots of loving people here. But if inside I have the thought that no one here really likes you, Louise, and they think you're really boring, that might govern whether I move towards or whether I decide to leave. I hope that makes sense. So we've got inside problem solving, thinking, worrying space, and we've got outside noticing, just sort of being with what's going on as it is now, and also behaving. Okay, so we've got 2 continuums here. We've got towards and away, we've got outside, and we've got inside. Does anyone have any questions before we start putting stuff in these 4 boxes? Okay, so I want you now to, we're going to focus on this box here, and although it's as though it's like a heading, I want you to write along here, who and what is important to me? And I want you to think about yourselves. So who and what is important to me, and maybe underline it. And then guess what? I want you to write in that bottom box, who's important to you? And by who, I just mean the people, the pets, the colleagues, could be your patients, friends, family. Put some names into that bottom right hand box, and just notice that it doesn't matter what order they're in. If you've put your dog before your husband, that's okay. It doesn't mean you love them more. It's just a list, and we can change this list at any time. Okay, so just put some names, or you can just put categories, friends, family. If there are specific people you want to write down, just do it. And it doesn't have to be exhaustive. We're doing a quick version of this tonight. Normally I would spend an hour or more doing this with someone. Okay, so you've got going to have a few names of people in this bottom right hand box. And then I want you to just think for a moment about what's important to you. And what do I mean by what? So by what, I mean, what are some of the values and the qualities that you would want to embody, perhaps thinking about those relationships with those people? So if you've written down a partner, you might want to think about, well, what's important to me in that relationship? What is it that I would choose to stand for if I got to be my best self in that relationship? If it's friends, what sort of friend do I want to be? What sort of nurse or administrator or, colleague do I want to be? And the sorts of words that we often end up using are things like available or supportive or kind. But find your own words. And again, this is the sort of work that can take a long time to really get to the essence of what it is that really matters to us. But for today, so we can just go around this tool together in this session, just write some things that come to mind. And so we've been thinking about relationships, but you can also think about what's important to me in my hobbies, in my interests. So it might be about having fun or challenging myself, about learning, about achieving. It might be about helping others. Just think about, so we've got sort of 2, 3, 4 things. And just notice if your mind starts judging you and saying, oh, well, I'm none of these things. I want you to try to let go of that judgment for a while and really think about what, if life suddenly became abbreviated, if we suddenly came into contact with something that made us feel that life was a bit more precious, what was it we would want to have done in our lives? What is it we would want to have stood for? What would we want people to say about us? So really think about your best selves and think about what you would like to be if you were being that. Okay. And you can also think about things like around exercise and health, what's important to you about lifestyle. So you can see you could go on and on, but I'm hoping everybody now, I've just written a random one, has got a few things here, people, things that are important. And now we're going to move over to this bottom left-hand box. Okay, so remember everything beneath this horizontal line is stuff that shows up inside you. So at the moment, we've just been thinking and writing about this stuff. We haven't come into the world of behavior yet. We're going to do that later. And in this box in the bottom left, we're going to think about what is the stuff that sometimes shows up inside me that gets in the way of me being these things in the bottom right or connecting with these people. So if we just write a heading for this bottom left-hand box as what stuff gets in the way. So just write that down. Okay, so normally I'd be doing this a little bit more interactively than this, but if anyone does have the courage to switch on their mic and just say, well, what's some thought or feeling that shows up for you that sometimes gets in the way? And I'll give you an example. So if over here I have exercise and looking after my health as a value, I might have the thought I can't be bothered, or I might have some anxiety about going to a yoga class or something. Or my mind might say to me, I'm just no good at yoga. I'm not a yoga kind of person. Or I'll start next week. Or what if everyone looks at me and I can't do it? So my mind just might get really busy at the thought of moving in the direction, moving towards some of this stuff. My mind might hook me and pull me away. So if anyone has the courage to just blurt out anything they're noticing in their bottom left, please do. But if not, just take a moment to think about what's some of the stuff that gets in the way for you of moving in the direction of some of this stuff. Similarly, like with my husband, I might want to be loving and supportive, but I might sometimes have the thought, well, you know, I might just feel irritated, or I might just feel a bit tired, or I might have the thought, well, he didn't tidy up last night. And all that stuff would show up and get in the way. Okay. Just pausing in case anyone wants to share anything. Any questions? This is horrible doing it to like a blank wall.
Wanting to get things right.
Wanting to get things right. Yeah, so what if I get it wrong? Yep. It's down here in the bottom left.
So I'll add for you for Louise, because you're doing a wonderful job. I'm sorry that you don't have an audience giving you feedback yet. I've put exhaustion, resentment, or feeling overwhelmed.
Thank you.
Not always understanding what to do when you get there, being unsure, lacking confidence.
Fantastic. Yep. So what if I get it wrong? What if I don't know the right thing? Yep. So we've got this lovely kind of value. Sorry, go, Sergio.
I was thinking about karaoke.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about singing in public and stuff.
Yeah. So you want to be the person that just sings in public, karaoke is great fun, and then your mind gets in the way, right?
Well, I would like to do it for fun, but I don't know. I don't really feel like I would like to do it. I mean, because of the reaction.
Exactly. So what if everyone thinks I'm a terrible singer? Or, what if the people laugh at me, or all this stuff, right? That we can really hear that my mind says this stuff, and I can hear that you've all got minds too, and our minds sometimes show up and get in the way. So thank you so much for sharing those things. So we've just started to notice, haven't we? We've started to notice that most of us have some things, some people, and some values, some qualities that actually, when we stop and notice, because we don't often think about what's important until it's a bit late or until something bad happens, we're trying to bring that into focus. And we're trying to get better at noticing, well, what is it that my mind sometimes says that gets in the way? And what we're going to do now is we're going to come above this horizontal line. Okay, so we're moving into the world now of behaviors. We're moving into the outside space. And in this top left box, which is on the away side of this diagram, I want you to think about, what is it that a video camera would see me doing if I were hooked by all of those thoughts, or if I was running away from that fear or that frustration or that irritation or that uncertainty or that self-doubt. So what would I see on the video camera? So it might be about sitting quietly and watching everyone else sing at the karaoke. It might be about avoiding stuff. It might be, well, I might just not go in and say hi to my husband. I might just bang around loudly. That's what I do when I'm a bit annoyed. So you'd see on the video, oh, well, I can see Louise crashing around in the kitchen. And that would tell you that I'm probably feeling irritated, or I'm a bit overtired, or I'm feeling like, why is no one doing all this stuff and it's always me that has to tidy up, or something like that. That's what my mind is kind of saying. And, you know, I'm thinking about at work that I might have the value of challenge and learning and helping and teaching, and then my mind might say, well, no one's going to come to your stupid talk, and then I'll just sort of say, okay, well, I won't sign up for one. So you'd see me sort of avoiding it, keeping a low profile, not volunteering for anything. Okay, so is anyone noticing any away moves? These are tricky to share. I mean, it might even be having a drink, it might be eating a lot, it might be hiding, avoiding. These are common away moves. If anyone feels courageous enough to share one. The heading for that box is, what would you see me doing? It's a long heading. That's why I sometimes don't give it. What would I see myself doing if I were moving away from those feelings or under the control of those thoughts? What if my behavior was all about this stuff? Yes, Sergio.
I would take singing classes.
Fantastic. That actually, I think, Sergio, is going to belong over here when we come to this box. Yeah, Susan.
Frustrated.
So feeling frustrated here, and what would I see you doing, Susan, if you were feeling frustrated? How would I know, gosh, that's Susan feeling frustrated?
I'd be angry.
Okay, so that's still down here. How would I know you're angry and frustrated? I need a behavior. What would I need to be able to see it on the video?
Maybe just staying away from everybody. Just
hiding away.
Yeah.
So that's a really common thing, Susan, is that a lot of people will just sort of isolate themselves, hide away. I'm looking at a still picture of you, Susan, so I feel like I'm connecting with you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I think I would talk about doing things, but not actually doing it. And I'd start sort of almost believing I was doing them.
Talk about playing the guitar, talk about learning French, talk about, this is things that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, would procrastinating by doing something else count on that?
So a lot of smartphone use, scrolling, going on the internet, reading a bit more about karaoke, sort of looking at going on, you know, learning a bit more about karaoke. But what I'm not seeing,
I mean, doing something completely else because you are sort of put off or whatever. I don't know.
Exactly. So I'll just do this and then I'll do that. Yeah, I'm the master of procrastination. Yeah, Ruth.
Staying up really late, you know,
staying up really late.
Trying to avoid things.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So I hope everyone's starting to notice their away moves, things that, and I hope you can hear that probably you can connect with everyone else here, that it's you're not alone, right? That we sometimes lose contact with this stuff. We tend to get hooked by all of this stuff, and our behaviors tends to be governed by all of this stuff. Okay. You know, if my mind is saying I can't be bothered, then I tend to just sort of flick on the telly. If my mind is, if I'm feeling a bit irritated or anxious, I'll tend to avoid, and then I feel a bit better, but then I start to feel guilty because I haven't done it, and then my mind calls me useless, and then I go and eat a massive piece of cake, and then I feel disgusted with myself. And can you see how you might start to get in what we call a bit of a stuck loop? And this is what I often help people start to identify, is that these things that show up, it's when we get hooked by them or we're trying to get away from them, we actually sometimes end up with even more of that stuff. Does that make sense to people? So let's say, yeah, Sergio? Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, everyone's saying on the chat as well.
Brilliant. And let's just, yeah, carry on. Oh, that was me and back in my ear. So let's just notice that also, rather than judge ourselves for these, what we're doing here is we're just trying to get better at noticing it. Can you see that if we then judge ourselves for being stuck, we've added down here, oh, I'm such an idiot, this is me getting stuck again. You know, that we tend to add to this bottom left if we add in judgment. And what we're trying to do here is, rather than judge, we're just trying to practice noticing. Here's that thought. This is what I do when I'm hooked by that thought, and I'm noticing that. Okay? Sorry, someone's just come in the room. So we're going to move over now to this top right box. And the heading for this top right box is, what might I see on the video of my life that would tell me that some of this stuff in the bottom right is important? So how would I know that helping people and my family and friends are important to me? What would I need to see myself doing that would tell me that this matters? So for example, you might see me go in and give my husband a kiss when I come in from work. You might see me picking up my yoga mat and walking out of the front door. You might see me sitting down and stroking the dog. You might see me emailing a friend. You might even see just something as tiny as somebody stopping and holding a door open for someone, or picking up a piece of litter from the road. That would tell me a lot about this bottom right. So I just want you to think for a moment about, what are your towards moves? And I want you to just think about ones that you might have done in the last week. So we can do this retrospectively and we can do this planning. So we can think about, well, let's just notice some towards moves today or yesterday. You might have prepared a healthy lunch today, and that's about health or saving money. Or it might be that you've did some meditation in your lunch hour, and that's about trying to sort of practice self-care. It may be that you stopped to check in with a colleague who you know's been struggling. That might be because you value helping or taking some extra time with a patient. So just stop for a moment and just notice, because I know people that work in the sorts of environment that you all work in are not always great at noticing their towards moves. It's very easy to dismiss them, and I want you to stop and notice. And I often ask the question for this top right hand box, if I watched a video of your day, what would I be able to guess who and what is important to you? And I mean that in all the areas of your life, not just your work, but in terms of your leisure and your health and your family and your relationships. And I know I've done this with a lot of teachers who just say, well, no, you'll just think that my work is the only thing that matters. And if you're noticing that, if you're noticing, gosh, no, then well done for noticing. Okay, because it's when we start to notice this stuff that we can start to make changes. Is anyone willing to share a towards move?
Well, sure, yeah, I'm thinking, so with people that matter to you, I think it will be stuff that you do together with them.
Okay, can you give me a concrete example?
For example, me and my wife try to go out for a walk and do stuff, but yeah, since we're still in restrictions, we're just not sure where to go. So yeah,
but if I saw you after a long day at work, going for a walk together, I'd think, okay, these two matter to each other. They're making time for each other. Yeah. Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, and then when it comes to things that matter, I guess it will be about looking them up online or researching them or reading about them, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. So that would be you kind of maybe looking up and Googling about when you can go to karaoke, or I know I keep using that, but you know what I mean? Just like, or finding out when there's a yoga class or something like that.
I look up stuff about androids. I don't know if I find that interesting. Okay. For example, yeah.
So somebody's written spending time on cooking a nice meal. Fantastic. Yeah. So taking time to prepare a nice meal, cooking from scratch, and that would show that I value my health and my well-being. And just notice what it feels like when we're moving towards. Okay, Bernie.
When I get in from work, I like to have a cup of tea with my husband in the garden, and we just talk about what's looking good and silly, but
No. I mean, and what is it you're moving towards when you do that, Bernie?
I think a closeness with each other, thinking about each other, making sure we're both okay at the end of our day. Ridiculous.
Lovely. So that's about being notice judgment. So notice how your mind started to judge over here.
Yeah.
And actually what we noticed is that being close and being supportive and being loving is really important to you. And that if I saw you two sitting in the garden with a cup of tea checking in on each other, that would tell me that, right? And some of you may start to notice that sometimes we can do things and they're a bit over here, and sometimes the same thing can be a bit over here. And I'll give you an example. So I can go for a run because I really value my health and I like being in nature, and I do it with a friend, and it's about having fun and connecting and chatting. And I can also go for a run because my mind calls me fat and lazy, and I really should go for a run today. And if I don't, then I'm disgusting. Okay, I mean, that's literally what people's minds can say to them, right? And then I'm going for a run, but can you notice it's up here? And then just like the rabbit running away, it's going to feel very different for me. That it's under the control of all of this stuff. And if we can transfer what it's under the control of to being about this, it's going to start to feel very different. And all we're doing here is we're just starting to notice. Okay, this is basically a tool that I use to try to cultivate exactly what mindfulness cultivates, which is about falling awake, which is about starting to come into contact with stuff, because everything above this line is your life. Your life doesn't happen beneath this line. It doesn't happen in your head. It has to happen in the world of behaviors. I don't know that the environment is important to you unless I see you behaving in a way that shows me. And it's your behaviors that become your life. I won't know that your children matter to you if I see you kind of walk past them and ignore them. I'd need to see you stop and chat with them and play with them, right? And this is our lives, and they happen briefly. And I guess what this is also doing, this tool, is about trying to bring this stuff into sharp focus. And I think somebody on the chat said that just by thinking and stopping, it's making me think about this stuff. And I would really, really encourage all of you to stop and think about this stuff. So I want you to now put a circle in the middle of these 4 boxes. So can you see where my finger is here? I want you to just write a circle, and I'll show you what I mean. And in that circle, I've done a big one so you can see, but it doesn't have to be that big if you've got lots of writing. I want you to write me, and I want you to write noticing. Because what we're doing with this tool is we are practicing being in this circle. And if this circle was actually, if I could draw it like I want to, it would be like my hand, it would be hovering. And what we're doing is we're shifting perspective on life, and we're just taking a moment to sort of rise above all of this stuff and just notice. Who is it that really matters to me? What is it that matters to me? What do I want to stand for? What do I want to show the world? And what is it? We're also over here noticing, what is it that sometimes shows up inside? And stuff will show up inside that sometimes gets in the way. You'd think it would be easy, wouldn't it? Work out what matters, move towards it. We've got primitive minds. We've got minds that are constantly looking for danger, that recall things from 20 years ago. Okay, and this stuff sometimes gets in the way. But if we can get better at being here, noticing this stuff, we're going to get better at unhooking from this stuff. And then we can start to break these stuck loops. So we're also here noticing that when I get hooked by this stuff, I often end up here, avoiding, hiding, distracting, procrastinating, sleeping, speaking a lot, getting busy. You know, being busy is quite a major away move for me. And we're also here noticing the things that I am doing, or we can say to myself, well, what do I want to see on the video tomorrow that's going to tell me and the people around me and the world that being kind is important to me? And I can't tell you the transformation this can have. And it had, the value of I can be a bit stroppy and a bit abrupt. And my children point this out to me. And it's not me. I don't know why I'm like that. It's not me. It's not the me I want to be. And so I've just been thinking a bit about that value of being more accepting and a bit softer. And it's really lovely trying on that value and bringing it into my mind on a daily basis and making sure I smile in shops and thank people and hold open doors. And it's very much the person I want to be. But I think I get hooked by, impatience. I don't know what I get hooked by, but I mean, I've analysed it enough. But it's often just irritation, wanting things to happen like this. And I'm often, therefore, not making eye contact in shops and probably being a bit rude. It's probably what you see me doing. And what I want to be is the person that smiles and says thank you and checks in on how their day is. I love it. When I see people doing that in shops, I'm like, I want to be like that. So if there's someone you think of that you think, gosh, I wish I was more like them, what is it that they value? What is it that you see them doing? And all this diagram is about trying to practice being in the central circle. Hang on a minute, I've noticed that I'm feeling a bit stuck. Or I've noticed we often start here, like I'm feeling really irritated, or I'm noticing that I'm feeling a bit low or a bit sad. And we might ask ourselves, well, I'm noticing I'm sad and I'm noticing some thoughts. And then what is it that I sometimes do when I'm trying not to feel sad or not to think about things, or I'm under the control of those thoughts as though they're real and they're fact? And then it's about, well, is that working? Is that helping me? And if it's not, how can I then bring some of this into focus in order that I can align my behaviors with this? What do I want to stand for in this moment? Maybe actually I need to phone somebody and reach out to somebody rather than hide and withdraw. Because I know that when I hide and withdraw, I end up feeling sad and isolated, and then I eat, and then I feel disgusted, and then or whatever it is that's your stuck loop. So the football has started, and my goal for this 40 minutes, and I've done it in 34, was to get round this tool. And what I want to say before we finish, or we have some questions, is that this is a tool that can be used for you as individuals in your personal lives. It can also be used for you in relationship to your work and with your colleagues. But a really amazing way to use this tool is with a team, and come together with a group of people and think about what are our collective values and what's important to us as a team. And what is it that sometimes hooks us and shows up and gets in the way of us as a team? And what do we then do? What are the behaviors we see in our team where we start talking on top of each other, or we ignore each other, or we stay late, or we leave early, or all those sorts of behaviors? And what is it that we would want to see? And what can we agree to as a team that would be our collective agreed towards moves? And how are we going to get better at noticing these and calling up these and encouraging these? Okay. And if you want to know more about using this in a team, please email me, because I think we should be using this in the trust. And there's a really cool model for using this in teams.
Doesn't this depend on how open the people in your team are?
Yes.
I mean, you could do it indirectly without them noticing or knowing, but
well, you can do it for yourself. So you can think about,
okay.
well, what matters to me as a member of this team. But obviously, to do it collectively, there'd need to be psychological safety, and there'd need to be consensus, and there'd need to be an acknowledgement that, yes, we're doing lots of this, and guess what? We're human and we're doing a bit of this. Should we come together and try to notice this without judgment? That's my phone. Somebody trying to sell me something. How can we come together without judgment and just look at this in order that we can spend a bit more time over here and a bit less time over here? Because that's all this really promises, is it's not a model to being 100% over here, because that's impossible. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get better at when we're over here, and when we notice we're over here, can we come over here? And I promise you that just by having a few of those moments and a few less of these feels transformative. Okay, so have a go. Maybe explain this to someone when you get home. If you can practice this with someone when you get home, you can do it in the pub on a napkin. if you try and explain this to someone else, it will keep your learning going. And like I said, if anyone wants to know more about it, please get in touch. Any questions before we go?
Are you going to watch football too?
Yeah. Well, we're not 1-0 down already, are we? I hope.
I think, yeah, lots of positive feedback in the chat. And thank you so much. I think that was indeed a very helpful tool for everyone. There was just one question earlier about who came up with this tool, or if it has a name.
It's called the ACT Matrix, MATRIX, like the movie, and it's by a lot of people. But if you want to look on YouTube, there's lots of videos by somebody called Kevin Polk, Polk, and he's one of the people that did it. There's another name that's Benji Schoendorf, which is too long to spell. But if you look at Kevin Polk, you'll see lots of videos of people using this. Or if you just Google the ACT Matrix, you will find lots of people on the internet doing exactly what I've just done. And if you want to think about how you can use it for yourselves or in work, honestly, just email me. But there are lots of other psychologists using this too. Okay.
Thanks, Louise. That's brilliant. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
helpful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I feel like
Thank
I've seen
you
some
so
of your
much.
faces.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Anna, for putting that on the chat. Okay, so Anna, shall I just leave?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for for jumping in and doing today.
That's okay. That's okay. I hope it was helpful for people.
I think it was a very comprehensive, and yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right.
I'll put a feedback form in the chat for people to do. If there's any feedback coming specifically from this workshop, I'm happy to relay that to you.
That would be really helpful. Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. And do you know about the staff support or psychological medicine activity log that we do usually after these? I can do that one for you, because I kind of looked at how many people took part. It's just to record our activity or
Great.
how we're doing, so I can record that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, brilliant. Thank you.
See you.
Cheers. Bye.